Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's ISTD Friday Forum session. And for the introduction of the speaker, I request Amruta Madam to proceed for the introduction. Thank you. Amruta Madam, over to you.
Me to introduce our today's guest. Good evening, everyone. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce our today's guest speaker, Dr. Deepa Mishra, ma'am. She is working at the Wellspan Group as a talent development professional with expertise in capability building and organizational development with over 20 years of experience. She is currently part of COE talent and culture team, where she is responsible to prepare strategies and also to contribute reposition the talent development function and establish learning constructs and work methodologies to design thinking principles. Core responsibilities includes value professional proliferations, development of internal resources, persons, materials, operational excellence to middle and senior leadership development, which has a compelling signature for sharp business alignment and high impact experimental designs. I welcome you, ma'am, on behalf of ISTD Anand chapter. And I invite ma'am to start the session. I hope everyone will enjoy today's session. Thank you.
Thank you, Amrita, and thank you everyone for having me here today. So today's discussion that we are going to have, I would rather call it as a conversation and discussion, is on, the very agenda that we are currently driving at Wellspan. And I have my colleague, Ms. Karishma Chetty also, who is, joined us for this conversation here. And she will also vouch for this, that, diversity, equity, and inclusion is very core to us as an organization. And that's why I thought that, sharing some of our learnings with each one of you and trying to understand some aspects of it from you all will help us, to further this agenda at Wellspan as well. So that's how I thought and chose this topic. So let's begin with the conversation. Let me do confirm once you can see my screen. I'll try and present my screen. Okay. Is my screen visible to everyone?
Yes, madam.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So one thing I would request, I continuously do this with my team also. I tell everyone, please don't call me madam because it feels that I'm very old. Okay, so just to keep myself feeling that name abhi itni budi nahi hui, so I prefer being called Deepa. So please do that. I would really appreciate that. So today's conversation that we have talked about, as I was introducing you to the topic, right, is about more on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And inclusion, especially a very important aspect of it. So that's what we are going to try and focus in today's conversation. So recently when we had these discussions, we were discussing on how we can enhance diversity quotient in our organization. And we were researching few of the articles, certain reports, we realize that, diversity is just one aspect of it. What is equally important is to ensure that there is equity at workplace and obviously inclusion as well, right? So until and unless we reach to that level of inclusion, right, as the holistic approach, until unless we reach there, diversity alone does not actually pay off to the organization, right? So that's where we are going to talk today about three things. So obviously, I've divided my conversation here today with you all into three different aspects. So one is obviously business case for DEI, why it is important for any organization for that matter, not just the corporate, but any organization to focus on DEI. What are generally the myths around that, and is needed to build inclusive behaviors at workplace, right? So that's these are the three ways or three topics, subtopics, which we are going to talk about during this conversation today. So are you all there with me, set with me on this?
Yes,
Yes?
madam. Yes.
No? Should we move ahead?
Yes, yes.
Yes, madam. Yes, madam.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your confirmation on this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try and share my screen to confirm once you can see that, because we are going to do a small, you know, a section wherein we will try and see if we can, gather some of your inputs while we are discussing these aspects about diversity and inclusion, right? So once you can see my screen, do let me know. And if you can take this QR code, right? If you can quickly scan this on your mobile, this QR code, you will be able to join this small quiz or discussions that we will play. So if you can do that quickly, do confirm if you can. And if you cannot, I will try and help you with the link as well, I guess, so that it will be easier for you all also to participate. Let me try and do that on the chat. Share the link, right? So just in case if you are not able to, join through the QR code, you will be able to join through the chat. I am not able to go to the chat option. No. I
DM, if people can just use this slido.com
can,
as
yes, slido.com and put this hashtag, I know. So
yeah.
yes, friends, if you can do that also, it will be great. But meanwhile, I will stop sharing and give you the links. Yes, the link has already been there on the chat as well. So let me play this quiz. If some of you have already joined in, please put it on chat so that we know that you have, been able to kind of play this. So I'll start the quiz in that case. Wait, I see few of you have been able to log in already. Great. Okay, so this is your first question that I would want you to, kind of ask you all. Why is, according to you all, diversity important at workplace?
So we have to type the answer or?
Yes, you have to type the answer. Yes.
Okay. I think we are not able to write it down.
You can, because people are typing in and
Right.
I am seeing those responses on the chat here. I'm sure you can see it on the screen as well. People have been able to answer some of this. Great. So yes, as you all are mentioning, right? So diversity is important, and why you feel it is important is because obviously there are different perspectives to it. Yes, diversity obviously brings in a lot of different perspectives in the workplace, because different people with different ethnicity, with different culture, with different gender, race, actually bring in different ways of thinking with them. And that actually brings different perspective to all lot of solutions that you are trying to bring in. And as you're rightly mentioning that, it's innovative, right? Yes, it is very innovative. Solutions do come out when you have a diverse workforce at workplace, because then the solutions that comes are from different fields, right? Many times we have observed that when you put people of different qualification, or people who have worked in different arena of work, when they are put into team, they come out better with innovative solutions, right? And that's something which is very, very important when you are trying to cater to the needs of your customers, right? So there are people who would probably understand the customers, and they would be able to bring in different resources that they might have from their field of study or respective area of expertise, which will be able to, we will be able to bring in innovative solutions as well. And as a result, right, it creates a very creative culture. Yes, the creativeness is very, very important, right? If you want to innovate your products, if you want to innovate your services, it is very important that we have a creative quotient which is very high in the workplace. And yes, diversity does bring that as well. And yes, understanding different customers, very true. Customers are key to any of the organization, right? So you exist for a particular purpose, and that purpose is very, very important from the perspective of customer, right? So that purpose, and if you understand your customers better, obviously you deliver better services, and hence it is important that diversity kind of helps in that as well. Unity, I'm really not sure if somebody can, I'm not sure who has mentioned this, but if you really have, thought about it, if you would like to share your views, why do you think diversity brings in unity? If you can share some views on that, it would be great to know. Yes,
unity means if different people from different culture are coming in and working together, it will add to the betterment of the entire project.
Okay, so that's why you think that's how unity is important when it comes to diversity. Yes, so you are right in a way, but when it comes to diversity and when we want to move towards unity, right, inclusion is actually the step towards that. So when we say diversity, from diversity to equity is very important, from equity then to moving on to inclusion is very, very important. And we'll talk about it as we go ahead, obviously, in the conversation that we are having today. So as we were saying, when it comes to diversity, there are some essential aspects to it, right? So obviously it is about talent, right? So you get people from different nook and corner of the world with different kind of experiences, right? So, and when an organization, is high on the diversity quotient, it brings it develops it for itself a lot of reputation as well, isn't it? Because then people start looking at it as an organization which is undiscriminating workplace, a workplace which has a lot of people who have different ethnicity, different race, different backgrounds, and yet are accepted in the workplace, right? So that's where, again, the reputation of the organization actually gets benefited out of diversity as well. And obviously, then it actually helps our customers, as we were discussing. And from the legislation point of view also, right? So many times we know that our laws define quite a lot of areas wherein we are bound to give employment to different sections of the society who are differently abled, say, for example, right? Or there are laws which actually talks about anti-discriminatory behavior at workplace, right? So all of this is very, very important while we consider diversity. And that's why legislations are an important aspects of it. And when it comes to innovation, we discussed about it, and mobility is also equally important, right? So when we look at diversity in an organization, it pulls in people from different areas of the world, different parts of the world, and that brings different kind of culture to the organization. There is a different kind of sharing that happens. The different exposures that people get is very extraordinary. And obviously that leads to mobility as well, in terms of people moving from one part of the country to the another part of the country, or for that matter, across the world. The idea of diversity is very, very important, as we all agreed. But another important aspect, which I believe, is obviously inclusion. अब मान लीजिए कि हमारी कंपनी में डाइवर्सिटी तो है, right? Say for example, हमारी कंपनी में there are 30% of women employees as against what it was some time back, which was only 10%. But does that, or is that sufficient enough? And the answer, I'm sure you all will agree that no, just having the women in the workforce, right, is not just the only, it's just maybe a first step, right? So what is more important is probably getting through that level of inclusion, right? Because what will happen otherwise? There will be workplace wherein you will have people from different work groups, say for example females, but if they are not filled inclusive, right? So what will happen? There won't be any kind of attachment with the organization. And obviously, if they are not attached to the organization, if they are not feeling the equivalence in the organization, then obviously their productivity will be very, very low. And if their productivity is low, they will be a part of your head count, but their productivity is low. So obviously it's going to impact your revenue. And the overall well-being of the organization will also be impacted, as obviously vis-a-vis, because individual performances will also drop. Another, kind of danger that we will see is that if there is enough, say, women workforce, but if you are not considering them every time in the right fashion, if your policies are not inclusive in nature, if you do not have policies which are necessary, mandatory for them to, support them and ensure that they have equity at workplace, the cases of discrimination filed against the organization may also increase, right? There will be high absenteeism, levels of conflicts will rise, and obviously there will be a lot of opportunities that will be missed and as an organization to make an impact, right? Because your time and energy will be actually going waste in handling these issues rather than taking benefit out of diversity in the workforce. So many studies actually suggest this. There are a lot of examples that you will find across wherein you will see that people actually face a lot of, or the organizations face a lot of challenge when it comes to having diversity at workplace, but not enough inclusion at workplace. So with this, I think we have a good case for ensuring that diversity, equity, and inclusion are equally important at the workplace. Now, how do we achieve this, right? As an organization, हम क्या करते हैं? If I ask you this question and if you can put responses on chat, I would like to know that what an organization does, to see that there is high diversity in the organization. Right? So right from policies, right? So ensuring that leadership को target दिया जाता है leaders को कि you should ensure that you have to hire these many percentage of women in your workforce, right? Or you have to make flexible working hours, or you have to make leave policies which are aligned to the needs of those employees, right? So all of this you can do with your corporate policies, right? You can ensure that while you are recruiting people, right, आप ensure करेंगे कि हमारी policy इस तरह की हो कि हमारे यहाँ पर जब लोग apply करें, right, everybody is given an equal opportunity. So all of this you can do as an organization when it comes to bringing diverse workforce. But along with this, it is equally important that what individuals and managers need to do, right? So that is where the inclusion part will come into picture. I would like to bring across to your knowledge that, in my organization at Wellspun, we have this great success wherein we have right now more than 250 to 300 employees who are our shop floor employees, who are operators in our company, but they are from the deaf and mute community. That means कि उनको किसी ना किसी वजह से उनकी सुनने की और बोलने की कैपेबिलिटी बचपन से या नहीं थी, एंड या कोई एक्सीडेंट की वजह से या किसी बीमारी की वजह से दे टुडे कैन नॉट स्पीक एंड कैन नॉट लिसन, राइट? अब इन लोगों को हमारी कंपनी ने ट्रेन किया थ्रू द स्किल डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम, एंड देन वी हायर देम एज अवर एम्प्लॉयज. अब दिस इज वेयर आई कम टू द पॉइंट ऑफ डाइवर्सिटी कि पॉलिसी तो हमने बना दी, राइट? कंपनी ने डिसाइड किया कि नहीं, हमें इनको रिक्रूट करना है, उनके लिए हमने ट्रेनिंग प्रोवाइड किया, उनको हर तरह की असिस्टेंस दी, उनको ट्रेन किया और उनको जॉब भी दिया. तो यहाँ तक तो काम हो गया, राइट? सो कंपनी डिड ऑल ऑफ इट, लीडर्स ने इसको इंश्योर किया कि ये चीज हो. बट नाउ व्हेन वी स्टार्टेड, जब उनके साथ बात किया गया, राइट, सो people realized that खाली ये करना is not important, right? खाली उतना ही जरूरी नहीं कि उनको नौकरी मिल जाए, but नौकरी में while they are at work, how effective they can be while contributing. तो हमने ये किया कि जो उनके साथ काम करते हैं लोग, राइट, से फॉर एग्जांपल अगर मेरी टीम में कोई ऐसा पर्सन है जो डेफ एंड म्यूट कैटेगरी से है, तो आई वर्क रेगुलरली विद दैट पर्सन, आई इंटरेक्ट डे इन एंड डे आउट विद दैट पर्सन. So how do I do that as a manager? Yeah, as an individual, how am I responsible to make them feel inclusive? So I was taught, I was trained on learning sign language. Now this is where inclusion will start building in. तभी तो वो जब हमसे बात कर पाएंगे, अपने आइडियाज शेयर कर पाएंगे, अपने विचार हमारे पास रख पाएंगे, हम उन चीजों को समझ पाएंगे, तभी तो उनका इंक्लूसिवनेस बढ़ेगा. तभी तो इट विल बी इम्पोर्टेंट टू सी दैट व्हाट दे फील, व्हाट दे थिंक एंड हाउ कैन वी सपोर्ट देम. सो ऑल ऑफ दिस एक्टिविटीज दैट द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन डज इज एक्चुअली टू काइंड ऑफ मेक देम feel a part and parcel of the organization. And hence, every time when we talk about diversity, it is equally important that we talk about how and what measures will we take as an organization, which has to be taken by every individual in the organization to ensure that people feel inclusive and become a part of the organization, right? So that's where the biggest challenge lies, because making a policy is easy, training people, putting an investment in terms of financial aspects is easy, but actually taking benefit out of diversity is actually focused on individual personal activities that we do individually as managers, as team members, as colleagues, and that's where the insights are important. So what we can do around that is more important to talk about. So before I go into the further conversation here, I would like to actually take a pause and ask you all an important question. Tell me this, that have you, ever, felt in this as an issue in your organization, or have you come across any such incidences or any such stories that you would like to kind of anecdotes you would like to share on this aspect of diversity and inclusion? And I will take this pause because I want to really know from you all your views on this. Yes, friends? Anyone? So is it कि ये कुछ बराबर तालमेल नहीं बैठ रही है हमारी बातें, या is it that बहुत ज़्यादा speed है, or is it something else is an issue? Please feel free to share.
No, this is
Oh,
all.
ma'am, everything is fine.
Okay, if everything is fine, then I would really want to know, आपका experience क्या रहा है? Have you ever felt any kind of situations? Have you seen, any such kind of situations in organizations or with people you work, wherein you might have seen issues with diversity and inclusion? Yes, anyone would like to share?
Yes, ma'am. There, I work actually, the number of employees are very less. So the scope of filling this issue is not much. But yes, I have seen some instances, very, very much less. But yes, sometimes there may be a misunderstanding between managers and colleagues. So at that time, because of the communication or because of some other issues, it may happen. But it is not permanent. It was very temporary in nature.
Okay, okay. Anyone else would like to share?
And yeah, it was not exactly in my organization, but we need to do election duties. And as a part of the election duty, once last election itself I observed was, there's this lady, she was a police constable, and she was easily carrying around 7 or 8 months of her pregnancy. and the kind of rigorous task that she was doing, I mean, it really pinched me a bit hard that, probably a little bit more sensitive, and particularly those kind of, very challenging roles that are expected to be played. I felt a little bit pinched there, that probably a little bit more sensitivity could have helped. Thank you.
Great, great. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Kinjal. And so, let me help you understand this. In one of my previous organization, not going to take the name of the organization and obviously not the name of the individual, because I believe completely in confidentiality, but I think it is very important to know about this, that the person actually whom I'm talking about, was from a person who had a different sexual orientation, right? And, the person always felt that he did not belong to a particular gender, right? And so the person went ahead and, got the gender operation, change operation done, and he kind of converted from, his gender. And the kind of approach that everybody had towards the person was not same, obviously, right? So some in the organization felt this as natural, as okay, the person was still equally welcomed and loved in the organization, whereas on the other hand, obviously there was a different group who actually found this as very surprising, could not settle with this, right? And I think that's very natural, because especially in country like India, where we are from, this kind of openness is really very difficult. A recent case, if for example, or the example that I would like to share with you, is that I was speaking to one of HR heads, and in the particular organization I'm talking about now is a different organization, right? So he was talking about this, that मेरी ऑफिस में कल ही मैडम 2 लड़कियां आई, वो लोग हमारी हॉस्टल में रहती हैं, गर्ल्स हॉस्टल में रहती हैं हमारे यहाँ पर, एंड दे बोथ आर इनटू रिलेशनशिप, तो हमने तो उनको निकाल दिया. Now, who explains to this person that this is against law, right? It is this very sensitivity that you need to have as an organization, that what legislation has to talk about it. How, as an organization, do we ensure that when we talk about having a particular numbers of diverse workforce, it just does not mean about the gender, right? It also means about different sexual orientations that a person would have. So it all is very, very important. And on the other hand, this same organization speaks a lot about, being an inclusive workforce or as a diverse workforce, and wants to project itself as a, organization which is, having equal rights, organization which wants to become one of the great place to work, or an organization which is looking forward to become a preferred employer. Now, if this is the case, right, if this is the reality, and if this is their aspiration, they have a long journey to make as an organization, wherein every single individual in the organization will have to go through this mindset change. And that is what is very, very important. Another thing now, again, before going into the further part of this section, I'm going to present again the same link you can use, the quiz that we were doing. So you can use the same link, and let me see if I can present this on the screen as well, so that you can, look at this particular poll. So you can use the same link, and I'm going to play the next question. If once you all are ready, to let me know on chat, so I know that you are there and we can start. So this is the old question. Don't worry about this. Just if you are ready and you are back to that quiz, just let me know on chat. Please put on chat yes or okay. We can go ahead and take the poll. Then I would like to, put this question up, the next question up. And this next question, it's about you. So what we need to do here, हमें ये करना है कि हमें ये पूछना है अपने आप से. We have to ask this question to ourselves while answering to the next question, is that how authentic can I be at my workplace? Okay, so that is the question, right? So how comfortable or safe you feel being yourself at work? ऐसा होता है ना कि कभी ऐसा होता है कि हम होते एक्चुअल में रियल में कुछ और हैं, बट क्योंकि हम काम की जगह पर हैं तो हम अपने आप को कुछ और दिखाते हैं, राइट? सो आप में से कितने लोग, आई मीन यू हैव टू रेट योरसेल्फ इन द स्केल ऑफ 0 to 5 दैट हाउ कंफर्टेबल you feel or safe you feel while you are at your work. So if you can quickly put the responses, I will be able to see the graph there. Yes, anyone? If you're facing any challenge, do let me know. Then accordingly, I will be able to, kind of see what can be done. Okay, but there are very few people who have answered yet, and we are many on the conversation here, almost 20 of us. So if not 20, I think at least 15 of us should participate, right? So then we get a fair idea about where we feel like are as a team here.
Actually in that screen, madam, star is coming. This rating scale is not coming. Star is coming.
Okay, so can you can click the number of star that you actually want
that I
to
did. I think this 100% is from my side.
Okay, so we have 4 as a score. Okay. Anyone else would like to make it an effort?
I'm not able to click on the numbers or add-on. I don't know why.
Yeah. Okay.
Not able to add the
Karishma,
response.
can you try? Karishma, can you try? Are you able to do that?
Yeah. I have done that, and I think that's my response only. So everyone, you need to select the number of stars. That's it. In case you're facing trouble while accessing this Slido link, again, just scan the QR code. That's it.
That's correct, but I'm not able to see the star as well to tick mark. Maybe the
Okay, so
limitations
maybe
of my
network is
laptop.
in challenge also at times, probably.
Star are there. A star are there. Even you can edit your response also. So earlier I clicked the 4 stars, so it was 100%, and then now
Yes.
when I edited, I think the
No
graph
worries, but for all those who are not able to do, if you are not able to do, I see 2 responses now, say for example. Great, but not an issue. If you are not able to operate this, you can put it on chat also. I will be happy to look at the chat also if that's the need of the hour, because obviously I understand that there might be some glitches from the point of view of network connectivity if you are not able to do that. So I completely understand. But as of now, if we look at these responses, right? So there are 3 responses that I have had, and all 3 are saying 3 different numbers, right? So, but majority of us, obviously, then when we start putting on our chat, we will be able to see what is the number. So if you can quickly do that, I will be able to, really look at the chat as well. So out of 1 to 5, right, you need to tell me that how safe, how comfortable you feel being yourself at workplace. And the answer could be anything, okay? It's not whether it's right or wrong. It's not about you, right? So for sure, please feel non-judgmental things from my side. But yes, we do feel these challenges. Like for myself, if I talk about me, right? What I am as a person, right? I generally now in this scenario or in the kind of role that I am, I don't represent myself like that. Okay, so for example, I am a person who has very, I would say strict kind of an approach, or a person who has been into the field of HR operations for a long time. So I can use foul language, I can become very angry with people. But now in the role that I am in, that's not appreciated, right? So probably I need to change myself, control myself, and I cannot be myself always, right? And that's very much possible. So the reason why I'm asking this is that, most of the times we have seen that organizations are filled with people who actually, face these kind of challenges. They are not able to actually resemble or be or act as what or who they would want to be or are. So, and that leads to this another issue that we have. So when we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? So obviously diversity is related to compliance, right? What all you need to do as an organization, the kind of policies that you have, the structure that you have, the workforce design that you would want to make. And when it comes to diversity from the point of view of equity, right? How do you market it? How are you, how do you accept it, right? What is the internal branding that you do? How do you market it out to the outside world is another part of it. And obviously inclusion is embedded, and only then we will be able to reach to that inclusion level when it comes to diversity. So there are some myths. Let me take you quickly through those myths, right? So the first myth that we were talking about is, unity was something which came up during the conversation in the initial poll. And so death by over collaboration, right? So कई बार ऐसा होता है कि हम लोग क्योंकि कोलैबोरेट करना चाहते हैं, क्योंकि हम चाहते हैं कि हम सबको साथ लेके चल रहे हैं, ऐसा दिखे, राइट? ये दिखे कि हम एक बहुत अच्छे टीम प्लेयर हैं, हम लोग कोशिश यही करते रहते हैं कि हम कोई भी फाइनल डिसीजन ना ले, to keep everybody happy. That's what we try to do, right? So it actually kills us, actually. And that's why it is important that we are not able to call it a spade, and hence it actually affects a lot of decisions that we take as an organization. Faking ourselves, as we were talking about it, right? That they are not really being listened. People are not really being listened. We generally tell कि हाँ हम लोग सुनते हैं, हमारे पास ये कमिटी बनी हुई है, and we involve our employees in that committee. उनके पास से हम व्यूज लेते हैं और फिर उसके बाद हम डिसीजन लेते हैं. But does that happen actually, or is it just a watershed wherein we try and showcase to the world कि हाँ हम ये process है हमारे पास, right? So that's where another myth is that if you have the process, people believe that in that case you would actually have equity and inclusion in workplace, which is not necessarily true. And obviously then chasing consensus, right? Agreement is favor over quality, and ये हम कितना भी कोशिश कर ले, ये बहुत मुश्किल होता है in organizations wherein you ask for a thing to be done because it has to be done in a particular way. But instead people try and see that what is the way you kind of avoid quality but reach to an agreement and resolve the issue. So that happens a lot, especially when it comes to handling quality services, when it comes to handling quality of product and processes as well. And obviously then no rule or one rule does not fit all. There are so many deviations that we do in the organization, right? For the sake of standardization, we tell that we have a standard procedure, but then we kind of bend so many rules. We create so many special cases that actually it affects the real policy, or the heart of the policy actually gets affected because of this. And that's why it is very important that we are mindful of this. Say, for example, in one of my previous organizations, we had this rule that, workers cannot bring mobiles at the workplace. Okay, so ये एक rule था. And अचानक से people started asking for deviations of it, क्योंकि ये इस बॉस का काम करता है इसलिए उसको डिविएशन मिल गया, क्योंकि वो बंदा उस बॉस का काम करता है इसलिए उसको डिविएशन मिल गया. And ultimately there was so much of unrest and unpleasant things happening around that people actually started blaming, and there was a lot of grievance around that. So I think that's again another part of it, that when we start include subjectivity to the policies that we make and we kind of deviate from it, then actually there is a problem, right? So either we kind of what generally even try and do is we make rules for the people who are exceptional, right? जो curve के बहुत extreme areas में है या bands में है, जो outliers हैं, rather I would say, we try to make in policies for them, and actually that's where we fail. So as a leader, what one needs to do, and I believe it's an as we say, right, leadership is not about the position, it's not about the designation, right? It's an competency that one has, and it can happen with anybody. Each one of us, for that matter, can be a leader. And so what we need to do as leaders is very important, which I would like to talk about here towards this part of the conversation that we are having, and that is, bring in uniqueness, in the organization through diversity. We are bringing teams which are diverse in nature. But with this uniqueness, we need to understand that we should allow them, we should appreciate their uniqueness, we should allow them to use their expertise, use their uniqueness, for the benefit of the organization. And obviously, belongingness is equally important when it comes to inclusiveness, right? So we need to create a culture. We need to create an environment where people feel equal, where they feel participative, and that's what is important. So for example, again, I would like to take example of Wellspun again, and I'm sure Karishma will agree with to me on this, is that at Wellspun आप देखेंगे कई बार हमारे यहाँ पर without a decision. And this is something very, very unique to Wellspun. I'm not sure if it happens in your organization, but Wellspun में ये मैंने पक्का देखा है, मेरे साथ ये मैं बहुत बार हो चुका है.
Madam, can you repeat again?
And
because your
yes,
voice
please.
was
तो
not,
मैं ये बता रही थी कि sorry,
your voice was
Divyang
not
was
clear.
saying something.
Your voice was not clear, so
Okay.
can you repeat it? What Wellspun you are doing, if you can?
Sure. Let me try and change my ear set for a moment so that you can hear me clearly. Just a moment. Can I get your speakers, Karishma? Right. So am I audible now?
Yes, please.
Yes, madam.
Okay, great. So, what I was saying was this, that at Wellspun, what we have is that there is a lot of long hours of meeting that happens. Okay, so what happens is that even जो एक नया बंदा, जो एक GT होता है या एक ट्रेनी होता है, अगर उसने ज्वाइन किया है ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में, राइट, सो उसको भी हम लोग मीटिंग में इनवाइट करते हैं, decision making situations में invite करते हैं, and we try to see that he or she also participates in that particular conversation, right? So that is how we try to kind of include people in the organization. So I think belongingness is something very, very important that we all try to build in the world of Wellspun. चाहे वो meeting फिर कितनी भी लंबी चले, we are okay with that. And if it even ends without the decision, we are still okay with that, right? So that's what we try to do in the world of Wellspun. So what generally people do, right? People kind of cover at work, they kind of change things at work. They try to feel safe, they try to be comfortable, they try to act like people around them. हम कोशिश ये करते हैं ना, जब हम किसी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में ज्वाइन करते हैं तो उस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का कल्चर कैसा है, वहां पर लोग किस तरह से बात करते हैं, we try to copy that, we try to adopt to that, we try to bend ourselves to that, and that is all because we want to be considered as part of them. We want to be part of that organization, and that's how we kind of bend ourselves, and that is very, very dangerous. So when people bend themselves, right? So when they try to become non-authentic, when they try to adjust into the team, when they try to be I would say non-authentic in the team, then they suffer a lot, right? So for example, आप लोगों ने बहुत बार ये महसूस किया होगा या देखा होगा कि जब एक बच्चा, right, एक बच्चा या एक स्टूडेंट जब एक कॉलेज में आता है, चाहे वो एक रूरल एरिया से आया है, पहली बार उसके फैमिली में से शायद कोई कॉलेज में आया है, right, the kind of environment that he sees, it becomes very difficult for that student to adjust, right? वो कोशिश करता है उन दूसरे बच्चों की तरह बनने की, उनकी तरह दिखने की, उनकी तरह पहनने की, उनकी चॉइस, वो जिस तरह का खाना खाते हैं उस तरह का खाना खाने की, just to become a part of that group. And so what happens is he faces similar pain he would face a pain as a physical pain, right? जब हम ये kind of neurologically हम लोग जब scan करके देखते हैं तो physical pain के time पर हमारे brains में cortex में in fact जो गतिविधि होती है या जिस area में गतिविधि होती है same वैसी ही गतिविधियां या similar kind of pattern you will see when the person tries to adjust to this psychological pain which he feels when he is kind of either felt not a part of group belongingness agar usko nahi महसूस होती है या उसको उस group से discrimination milta hai, right? So that's again very, very crucial to understand for all of us as leaders, that we need to be mindful that it's physical pain to fir bhi dikh bhi jata hai, right? ये जो psychological pain the person goes through is very, very difficult to express, and it is really very important for leaders to be very observant to kind of spot on that and work towards helping that individual to become more a part of the organization and help them that how they can adjust to these new environments that the person is coming to, right? So that's what I guess is important for all of us as leaders to do. I'm going to quickly now take you through this last slide, and then we will kind of get into some conversation around this if you would like to share any experiences and all, and then we will call it a day. So this is my last slide, believe me. So when I'm saying this, and I love this quote a lot, which says that, I'm not different from you. Okay, so that's important. I am not different from you. I am different like you. आपके लिए मैं different हूँ, मेरे लिए आप different है, right? And that's where the charm and the beauty of inclusiveness is. And this difference obviously comes from many different aspects, right? It comes from all the bigger demographic factors that we talk about, that is the race, the religion, the age, the disability factor, or the gender, or the sexuality. But also there is a lot of inherent factors which are not necessarily demographic in nature, but the status of family, we know the education, the interest that the person has, appearance, the way the person looks, right? All of that, with that of obviously, the kind of areas that we were talking about in terms of what his or her आउटलुक टुवर्ड्स लाइफ इज. कुछ लोगों को ह्यूमर बहुत पसंद है, कुछ लोगों को सीरियस बातें पसंद है, कुछ लोगों को इंटेलेक्चुअल बातें पसंद है. सो ऑल दिस एक्चुअली लीड्स टू different valuation in terms of inclusiveness, and that's where our role as leaders lies when we want to include everybody as a part of our team, or we want to become an inclusive workforce. So any thoughts, any views that you would like to share on the topic now? I've stopped sharing my screen. If you have any questions, and if you would like to share any views, I will be more than happy to, look into this conversation, because जैसे मैंने पहले बताया था, the idea is that I would like to know from you all also, learn from you all also, because at Wellspun, we are trying to drive diversity, inclusion, equity and inclusion very expediently now. And so your experiences about it will also help us as an organization to, make some impacts which will help our organization and employees of our organization.
No, like not just about the diversity and inclusion and all. Like in today morning, I was reading a newspaper, and then so far as our educational institutes are concerned, there was a survey, and out of the topmost 200 universities of the world, or institute of the world, there were only 4 institutes in that list out of the total 400. Sorry, 200. So there were some of the IITs and one of the Institute of Science at Bangalore. So how can we benchmark? Like then I was thinking, like out of 500, even IIM Ahmedabad is also not there. And then I was thinking, what the hell I am doing in this university? Like if, see, the topmost institute of the country is not in the list of the top 400 institute of the world, then are we really knowing what is the best practices sometimes? it may not be, even the fraction in 0.00 something, Kinjal madam. So,
So
so
this is exactly
sometimes,
the topic of the working paper that I'm currently working on, and I've been researching this since last 4 years at least. To few clarifications there, IIM Ahmedabad is not eligible for that ranking because they only offer one program. The criteria for being ranked is that you should have at least a certain number of diverse subjects disciplines being offered. So they are not even eligible in that context. So IMA does not appear there. One, IITs, IISc, I have been a very critique of this rankings itself. But I guess that's again a different. I'll be very, very happy to share with everybody here that working paper which I'm working on, which may take around some more time. Yeah, sorry.
yeah, that is good. Like in that case, there is always a case to case different. But like particularly from a Deepa madam, as she is working in a corporate, so how they benchmark the good practices, from where they learn all these things, because sometimes it is not that easy to learn from the other institutes, and benchmarking the good practices from them, right? So in educational institutes, so there is a lot of fragmentation, as Kinjal madam very quickly give the reply. So that is because she is right. A lot of fragmentation and such kind of scatter nature of institutes are there. But then generally in a corporates, what you do, how you will benchmark those things?
Say, for example, like I will give you two examples, okay? And this is very interesting to note because my daughter right now, first, let me share my personal experience and then I'll go to the corporate experience as well. So my daughter now is in 12th standard, right? And I was talking to somebody in the university, in one of the good universities, tier one universities. And I was asking them that, where do I get this ranking? So the person this university is one of the best universities. Okay, so this person told me that you can go to this particular NRIF, something kind of name that she told me. I am not exactly able to recall, but maybe that's what she told me.
That's
That
right,
you go
NRI.
to, yes. So she said that you go to there and there you will see the list of colleges which are being ranked and how they are being ranked, but you will not find our college there. So I was like, oh, really? So that's the, challenge I guess everybody faces, especially when it comes to education, industry in India. The rankings vary in terms of different kind of aspects. Say, for example, and as a corporate, when we kind of do the ranking analysis, we use different approaches. Okay, so the very first approach that we use is obviously we look at the industry trends. Okay, so that's something very, very important. One. Two, we look at the rankings which are there based on the specific topic or subject of interest, right? So, for example, if we are hiring management students, then we would go to rankings through that the Times magazine gives, right? So that's one way of looking at it. But obviously, when it comes to technical hiring, we do not go to Times rankings. So what I'm trying to say is that it depends on the kind of field that we are trying to recruit from and our own experience with students from that college is equally important for us. So I think as an organization, these are the two parameters that we look forward to when we get into hiring. And that's how we kind of reach to a conclusion that what needs to happen where. So that's my views on that, Raju. So I hope that answers your question as well. Yes, anybody
Thank you.
else?
Yes.
Thank you, Deepa madam. Raju sir, can I add something?
No, she is right from her point of view.
Yeah. Okay. Any other participants want to share something?
You all deal with so many students, right? I'm sure you would have some stories, some anecdotes to share, some experiences to share when it comes to diversity inclusion. What kind of challenges you face?
recently we have some students from Africa and Ethiopia and those countries, and they are hardly one or two students in the classroom. And their first problem is a language, because English is their major problem. So sometimes we also feel guilty that they spend the money and all the way they are coming from such countries, and we are not able to justify the diversity, because sometimes we take it very very casually, like if they are one or two only. So most of the time they don't understand our language. Even if we speak in English, then also that's the issue. I told you I went to ADIT college, and the session was among more than 400 students, and then the coordinator told me to speak in English, because she said me that there are some foreign students also. So I asked that how many foreign students, and then there was only one foreign student from South Africa. And other 39 students, they don't understand English actually. So now that was dilemma whether to speak English for a one person, and he also doesn't understand anything. And then 39 students from our own country, right, first time attending the engineering college in a Gujarat in English medium, right? So sometimes to justify diversity for a one person, we have to compromise with 39 students, 399 students.
I agree. I agree. And it's a huge challenge that you face. I completely
Okay, thank you very much, all the participants. And on behalf of ISTD Anand chapter, we thank you, Dr. Deepa Madam, and for this wonderful session, which is a right context, and even in day-to-day life for the future generation, the faculties can use your examples to teach this topic, so that we can make diversity in the future workforce, which will be helpful to the society. And we thank you all the participants who joined us today. And as you know, we will be putting this video on our ISTD Anand YouTube channel, and you will can refer this to your friends or colleagues. And see you all next Friday with the new topic and other speaker. Thank you very much.